Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle McGeary, Vice President of Healthcare Technology Management at AMI. And today I'm here with.
Colleen Helgen Ortiz.
Maggie Berkey.
So, for those of you who don't know Maggie and Colleen, they are our co chairs of the AEM working group for an AEM standard. So, thank you guys for all your hard work and everything that you've done to push this through. How does it feel to finally have it done?
Amazing.
Like a load has been lifted off.
I mean, you guys should be
Yes.
so proud doing it in under a year. That is really just one of the fastest standards we'd ever put out. And I think that's really talks to your leadership, the group that you guys had, being able to reel them in and get agreement. And I also have some really exciting news. I don't know if you know, but we just got word yesterday that ANSI approved the standard. So
Wonderful.
it's been fully ANSI approved. That means it can go in the store, it can be sold. But let's talk a little bit about the standard and how you really think it'll help the industry.
I think it'll help the industry because it's going to give a clear, not necessarily guidance, but a standard, a direction on what equipment is usable for AEM and how it's used for AEM and gives clear definition on AEM.
It really does provide a lot more of the black and white so you know exactly when you're talking to your accreditation body. Yes, I can do this, and here I can point to this standard now to show why I did it this way.
So it really focuses on it being more like a risk assessment and risk based, right? Do you
Correct.
want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, just like Maggie and I were talking about AEM, like we talked about this the other day, we're talking about how AEM is mainly about being able to defend your program.
Hmm.
You know, understanding your program, understanding what you're doing, and how you got there. You know, did you do a risk assessment of how are you maintaining your program? So those are things that go into the AEM program and make it robust and defendable.
Absolutely.
Great. So let's move forward a little bit. So now that this standard is out, it'll be in the store. There's obviously going to have to be education about this. And who better to do it than you two? You guys are the subject matter experts about this. So why don't we talk a little bit about how we're going to roll this out, how we're going to help the HTM community learn about this standard, spread awareness, and hopefully implement it into their, MEMPs.
I think that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's where all the meat and potatoes are. And we're already starting work on putting together a TIR to support this document. And we're also building a training so that anybody across the nation can come on down and really walk through. And like you said, Clean, we're going to have them in this class do a risk assessment and do some scoring. And then as you said before, really the review of your program, that's the key. You can make a decision today based off a risk analysis, but it's that ongoing maintenance of your program. That's where you get that confidence to defend your program.
So what we've talked about and started putting together is we're creating this training in a sense of a we're going to show you what our standard says, we're going to show you what guidance is out there, and then what we're wanting to do is create a we'll come out with a sample inventory. We're going to have you look at your inventory. We're going to have some numbers there for you to look at and say, based off of these numbers, what would you put on AEM? Or based off of these numbers, what would you take off AEM? Things to take into account, recalls that came out that year, the amount of corrective repairs on a device that year. We're going to come up with, just a example for a handout during this training for them to go over and actually be able to do it.
That's super cool because I think you really mentioned a great point, right? Just because you have something on AEM now, if you start looking at your records and see that you're having a huge number of failures, that may be indicative. Well, maybe it needs to come off of AEM. Just because 5 years ago you did this like risk assessment, you have to be constantly, tweaking it and relooking through it. And I think that's such an important part. I want to circle back to something that Maggie said really quick, though. You said that we were putting out a TIR. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's a technical information report. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is and what the topic of that technical information report is going to be?
Well, from my understanding, a technical information report is just really the meat and potatoes part of the standard. So in the standard, it's very black and white, it's very high level overview, but the TRR allows us to kind of dig into what different programs are doing with that same set of rules.
Yes, and it also doesn't go through all of the same processes as a formal standards like public commenting and stuff. So TIRs can come out faster versus, so there isn't as many. There's still steps that need to be followed for consensus, but it's not as rigorous as a formal standard. So that's sometimes why we also do TIRs because you need to get that information out quick.
It might already be out though if we didn't have to get it run through the approvals. So it does still have to, meet that bar,
Yes.
which is important.
Perfect. Well, I just really want to thank you all so much for all of your hard work on this. I think it's been a long time coming to get this AEM standard out. It is definitely a hot topic in the HTM field. And, we're just so appreciative of you both, all your hard work, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work with you with education. So, for everyone out there, the standard should be out in the next few weeks. And, we'll also be putting out education. We'll probably see some education at the exchange around it too. But Colleen and Maggie, it's just always such a pleasure. Thank you guys both so much.
Good to see you, Danielle.